Chapter 2. Breaking Our Own Hearts. We tell ourselves it was love that made us stupid, but it wasn't love. It was the story we told ourselves about love. The belief that the right person would make everything click. But maybe it's not about picking the wrong person. Maybe it's about picking them for the wrong reasons. Maybe every sharp word, every fight, every late-night Google search to find the cause of our partner's failure wasn't just bad luck. Picking the wrong person, it was a strategy. Not a good one, but one designed to feed our ego, protect our wounds, and keep us feeling like the victim when the collapse finally comes. We're terrible at relationships, not just individually, culturally, systemically. We weaponize words, keep score, and then act surprised when we feel like hostages in our own homes. When the tension finally snaps, we don't sit in the wreckage asking, "What did I do to help destroy this?" No, we grab a flamethrower, torch what's left, and rewrite the history in our favor. We say we want love. We say we want a partner. But really, we seek someone who makes us feel good without ever making us feel uncomfortable. And the second we feel uncomfortable, because intimacy is uncomfortable, we start looking for an exit. Some people blow it up dramatically, cheating, ghosting, or detonating a fight so big there's no way back. Others do it quietly. They stay physically present, but check out emotionally, turning the relationship into a long, slow death that only ends when someone finally says, "I can't do this anymore." And then, after it's over, we lean on the most comforting lie of all. I just picked the wrong person. As if that's the whole story. As if we weren't the common denominator in every relationship that imploded. As if we weren't the ones bringing the gasoline and the matches. We don't just fall in love, we fall into battle positions too. And we don't realize it. We may armor up with past wounds. We sharpen our expectations into demands and step into intimacy like it's a war zone we must survive. We say we want connection, but the moment we feel vulnerable, we reach for control. The moment we feel unsafe, we reach for the nearest emotional weapon and defend ourselves. We don't fight to fix things. We fight to prove things. We fight to win. The goal isn't resolution, it's validation. It's being right, being superior, being the one who walked away clean, with receipts and a martyr complex to match, the math of heartbreak. Love never starts as a calculation. It starts as a rush, soulmates, massive attraction, big gestures. A future so bright we don't bother reading the fine print because who wants to ruin a good high with details? I didn't. Most of us don't. I jumped in convinced this time would be different because it felt different. But reality has a way of showing up later. Nearly half of first marriages don't make it. Second ones fail even more often. Third tries collapse at a rate that stops feeling unlucky and starts feeling patterned. By the time kids are involved, the damage spreads outward. Custody schedules, split holidays, learning how to co-parent with someone who used to know how you took your coffee and now barely knows you at all. I didn't need the numbers to feel it. The numbers just confirmed what my body already knew. Still, after every implosion, I told myself the same story. It was them. The wrong person, the wrong timing, bad luck. And then I would do it again. Same hope, same certainty, same blind spot. I kept asking why I attract the same kind of people, why that type kept finding me, without ever sitting still long enough to consider the more uncomfortable possibility. Maybe it wasn't them. Maybe it was me. Maybe I was the pattern, the denominator. I never took the time to add it all up. Myths we were sold. But hey, we come by our messed up approach to relationships honestly. It's not like we woke up one day and decided to be emotional wrecking balls. We were trained for it. From the beginning, we were spoon-fed a fantasy, fairy tales about the one, happily ever after, and soulmates who just got us. Love was sold as a strategy, not a process, a cosmic jackpot. I grew up on stories that promised someone else would complete the equation, that real love would feel effortless, that if it was hard, something was wrong. And if something was wrong, it probably meant you picked the wrong person. You meet, you fall, you win. Cue to the wedding, the credits, the assumption that life will now take care of itself. We watched movies that ended at the proposal before the toothpaste fights and the weaponized silence. We heard songs that promised someone would rescue us, complete us, love us through all our flaws, without ever mentioning that real love requires confrontation, not just candlelight. Nobody wrote ballads about asking for what we need without making our partner feel like a failure. There's no pop anthem about navigating resentment without detonating the whole thing. And it's not just the entertainment industry. Religion tells us relationships are sacred, lifelong commitments, divine contracts, breakable only under extreme circumstances. Family tells us relationships are a legacy, that settling down, having kids, and maintaining appearances is not just personal, it's a duty. You don't just disappoint yourself, you disappoint your bloodline. You fail the whole damn tree. Modern culture, meanwhile, is sprinting in the opposite direction. Relationships should be effortless. If it's hard, it's wrong. If they don't meet our needs 100% of the time, we deserve better. If we're not smiling through every moment, something's broken, and spoiler alert, it's probably them. Cut ties, start over, swipe again, the slow fade. We pretend isn't ours. We keep grinding. We keep adding to the misery. We keep score, tallying every missed moment, every unsaid word, every time they didn't read our mind or meet the unspoken needs we never had the courage to voice. We build a case in silence. Every slip, every perceived slight goes into the file. But it's never a balanced ledger. Because we're not looking for understanding, we're looking for justification. We don't want to see their efforts, their quiet grief, their confused attempts to reach for us while we were halfway out the door. We need to believe we're the ones who gave everything, the ones who tried, the ones who deserve more. Then the sabotage starts, not the kind with slammed doors or screaming matches. No, we're more subtle than that. We disengage with surgical precision, turning away when they reach for us, scrolling through distractions instead of speaking up, offering "I'm fine" when we're anything but. We stop texting back right away. We stop listening. We stop showing up, slowly enough that we can pretend it wasn't intentional. And as the distance grows, we use it as evidence. Look, it's broken. See, it's not working. Proof you've decided you need. And then we start repeating it to ourselves, like a mantra, like a prayer, like a spell we're casting to make the guilt go away. This is the only way. This is the only way. This is the only way. You're exhausted, not from the relationship, but from pretending, from holding the pose of connection while emotionally packing your bags in secret. You've been building the exit for months, maybe years, dismantling the foundation piece by piece. And by the time you finally walk, you've rewritten the story so well you believe it. We were the ones left behind. We were the ones who cared more. We don't want to see that we've been living in a partnership of one, narrating both roles. The escape fantasy. We tell ourselves that running is the only option, that leaving is the right answer, that we're choosing something better, something healthier, something that will finally meet our needs in all the ways this one didn't. But what you don't see, what you refuse to see, is that you will be taking all of it with you. The same habits, the same wounds, the same patterns, the same baggage that you think you're escaping. We don't leave it behind. We are it. And no matter where we run, we'll find it again. We'll build it again. We'll sabotage it again. And we'll tell ourselves the same story. Again. By the time we walk out, we've already left 100 times in our minds. But the most tragic part? Our partner probably has too. They're playing the same game with the same wounds, building their own case, rehearsing their own speech. Both of us retreated. Both of us convinced the other one stopped showing up first. Both of us are waiting for proof that it's safe to come back, while slowly proving it's not. New face, same wreckage. We don't call it quitting. We call it choosing ourselves. We call it self-respect, growth, evolution. We write new stories that frame our departure as bravery. And maybe it is. But more often it's just a more socially acceptable way of saying, I didn't know how to stay and face myself, so I left and blamed you. We call it healing. But we didn't heal. We fled. We burned down the house, stood in the ashes, and called it clarity. We will convince ourselves we're better off. And maybe we are. Or likely we just carried all the same broken wiring into a new situation and called it progress because the street address changed. And all that pain, all that damage, it doesn't get left behind. It travels with you. Into the next argument, the next relationship, the next moment you don't feel seen or heard or validated. We think we've reset. We haven't. We've just started the loop again. A little older, a little more guarded, a little more convinced that love isn't worth the price. Once we run, once we finally pull the trigger on the escape hatch, we've been quietly constructing. We don't reflect. We don't process. We tell ourselves we gave it our all. We sacrificed. We bent. We compromised. We held on longer than most would have. And maybe some of that's even true. But the part we leave out, the slow fade, the deliberate disengagement, the way we kept the machine running, dinner, school drop-offs, holidays, while emotionally checking out, we tell ourselves we stood up for something, that we left a broken situation. But more often we left because we stopped fixing it. We made it easier to quit than to question our part in the collapse. Now we've got our version of the story, tight and clean and full of emotional buzzwords. They were distant. They didn't appreciate us. They stopped showing up. We forget to mention we did too. That we built walls and taught them to stop trying. That we let things rot and then acted shocked when it all smelled like death. And then a new face, a new start. But we don't start over. We replicate. It's the same damn script with a new cast, a new co-star we hope gets the lines right this time. Because we didn't rewrite the pattern, we just hired a new actor. We carry our ghosts with us, not in chains, but in habits, in silence, in the hesitation to open up, in the checklist we silently measure them against. We expect them to be different while we stay the same, still afraid, still reactive, still clinging to the fantasy that someone else will make us whole without ever confronting the parts of ourselves we refuse to meet. We're not building new relationships. We're staging sequels. Same fear, same wounds, same denial. And until you own that, you'll keep wondering why every one of your love stories ends the same way. We don't fall in love. We pick a strategy. We don't fall in love. We fall into strategy. Into stories we started writing long before we met them. Stories that say we're only worthy if we're chosen, that we're only safe if we're in control. That connection is earned, not given. We carry that strategy with us like an heirloom or a curse, quiet, familiar, and always within reach. We choose someone who fits the script. Or we make them fit. We project. We recruit. We hand them a role they never auditioned for and get disappointed when they miss their lines. And when they don't soothe the ache, we pretend it isn't there. We don't rewrite our own story. We replace the cast again. A new name, a new voice, same old ache. When it starts to break down again, we don't try to understand. We fight to win, to stay right, to stay safe. We sharpen our pain into proof. We rewrite reality with our hurt as the narrator. And when it all collapses, again, you'll call it fate. You'll call it incompatibility. You may even call it growth. But really, we were never trying to love. We were trying to survive our reflection in someone else's eyes, and when the mirror got too honest, we looked away. We don't want love. We want certainty. We want safety disguised as romance. We want someone who won't trigger us, who never confuses us, who never forces us to look at the parts of ourselves we still haven't forgiven. And when they fail to meet that impossible ask, we punish them for not being our fantasy. Then we say, I tried. I gave them everything. I just picked the wrong person again. But we didn't pick the wrong person. We picked a strategy. And we carried it with us like a holy text, confusing love with control and connection with performance. Until one day, everything burns down again, and all we're left with is the bitter possibility we've been trying not to face. It was never about them. It was always about us. The grinding stops when we do. This isn't about blaming ourselves. This isn't about shame. It's about recognizing the pattern so we can stop living inside it. Because real suffering isn't just heartbreak. It's the way we keep doubling down on the story that keeps breaking our own hearts. That story, the one where we're always the one who tried harder, who loved more, who got burned for caring, isn't just false. It's a trap, a story written by a part of us that's too scary to admit we've been playing both roles all along, the victim and the saboteur. The good news? This pattern doesn't need to be permanent. The grinding, the scorekeeping, the silent erosion of something that was once alive. It can stop. But not because someone else finally gets it. Not because you find someone who magically never triggers you, never fails you, never makes you doubt. It stops when you stop needing it to look a certain way. It stops when you stop trying to prove that you were right all along. It stops when you stop running from the hardest question of all. What part of this mess did I build with my own hands? Because when we ask that, when we finally get honest, the war quiets. The story starts to change. We start to see clearly. And what comes next? Well, it's not peace, not yet, but it's the truth. And that's where we'll start, or we can keep running. We can keep going like this, keep blaming. Keep polishing the story until it shines. We can rehearse the same grievance again, just a little softer this time, a little more reasonable, a little more charitable to ourselves. We can revisit the same moments, collect new evidence, reframe the past until it finally sounds airtight, until it feels inevitable. We tell ourselves we tried, that we stayed, that we bent, that we loved harder than most. And every time we repeat it, the story tightens. The edges smooth out, the doubts fall away. What started as confusion turns into certainty. Again. What started as pain turns into proof. And eventually, the conclusion feels obvious. Of course it failed. Of course it couldn't have worked. That's how we make it make sense. Running doesn't feel like running when it's wrapped in logic. It feels like clarity. Like progress, like finally doing the healthy thing, and for a moment, it even feels better. The noise drops, the chaos quiets, the house is calmer, the arguments are gone. We call that relief and pretend it's healing, but the grind doesn't stop. It just goes underground. Now we're alone in a place we can barely afford, telling ourselves this is temporary. Googling the same questions with different wording, swiping past new faces while carrying the same old explanations, seeing our kids on a schedule and convincing ourselves this is still better than what came before. We keep narrating, keep justifying, keep tightening the story so we don't have to loosen our grip on it. I know this because I did it. I kept telling myself the same version until it felt solid enough to stand on. Until I believed it. Until I could say it out loud without flinching. And sure, it works for a while. The storm moves off, the sky clears. We sit in the quiet and tell ourselves we've finally outrun the damage. But quiet isn't resolution. It's just the eye of the storm. And if nothing underneath has changed, the system spins back up. New relationship, New job, new life, same patterns, same wounds, same grind. Maybe the real cost wasn't the marriage or the house or the money. Maybe it was learning how to convince ourselves repeatedly, over and over, that the story was finished, when all we really did was reset it. And if we're honest, that's the part we don't want to look at yet. Not because we don't see it, but because once we do, the grinding stops being something that happened to us and starts being something we're doing. Subscribe to this channel or check out truthttoldsideways.com for more chapter reads, videos, articles, and information of this book. This has been Chapter 2 of The Idiot Factory by Mark Brent, now available on Amazon. Next, Chapter 3, And We Grind, where Mark tells the story of how our life and work expectations become another line of suffering in the Idiot Factory. And we want to believe in a narrative about our life and success that wasn't ours.